The notification popped up on my laptop at 2:25 p.m. on a Tuesday, right in the middle of reviewing quarterly reports. A message from my younger brother Tyler. "Dude, call me now. Don't open this at work." But the image was already loading. My wife Rebecca, pressed against our kitchen counter, the same granite countertop we'd picked out together 3 years ago, her blouse unbuttoned, head thrown back. And my business partner Derek Paulson, with his hands exactly where they had no right to be. The timestamp read 11:23 a.m. this morning. While I'd been in our downtown Phoenix office closing the Riverside deal that would net our construction firm nearly $2 million. I'm Nathan Cross, 34 years old, and up until that moment, I thought I had it all figured out. 7 years married to my college sweetheart. A thriving commercial construction business I'd built from nothing with Derek, my best friend since sophomore year at Arizona State. A beautiful home in Scottsdale. We'd been trying for a baby for the past year. Trying for a baby. The thought made my stomach turn. My hands were shaking as I dialed Tyler. He picked up on the first ring. "Nathan, I'm so sorry, man. I didn't know how to... Where did you get this?" My voice sounded strange, distant. My girlfriend Jenna was dropping off those samples for Rebecca's interior design business around 11. She forgot her portfolio and came back 10 minutes later. The front door was unlocked, and she walked in on... that. She took the picture through the doorway before they saw her. She's been sick about it all day. Didn't know if she should tell me, but... Send me everything. Every photo, timestamp, all of it. There's more, Nate. Jenna heard them talking after. This isn't the first time. Rebecca said something about how you'd be in meetings until at least 3. How they had plenty of time, like always. Like always. I ended the call and stared at my computer screen, at the spreadsheet that suddenly meant absolutely nothing. The office felt too small, too bright. Through my window, I could see Derek's corner office across the hall. His door was closed. He'd said he had calls scheduled all afternoon. Calls. I pulled up our company's shared calendar. Derek had blocked out 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. as client meeting, off-site. I checked the previous weeks. The same block appeared every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 3 months. Sometimes Mondays too. My Tuesdays and Thursdays were always packed with on-site inspections and supplier meetings. I'd structured my schedule that way deliberately, leaving Derek to handle more office work since he preferred it. Or so I'd thought. The door to my office opened. Derek walked in, coffee in hand, that easy smile on his face that I'd trusted for 12 years. "Hey, buddy, just got off with the Riverside people. They want to move up the timeline by 2 weeks. Think we can swing it?" I looked at him, really looked at him. The guy who'd been the best man at my wedding, who I'd lent $50,000 to when his mom got sick 4 years ago, told him to pay it back whenever. Who'd sat with me in the hospital waiting room last year when Rebecca had that scare with appendicitis, brought me coffee at 3 a.m. and told me everything would be okay. "Yeah," I heard myself say. "We can swing it. Listen, I've got to head out early, feeling off." Concern crossed his face. Perfect, practiced concern. "You okay? You look pale." "Just a headache. I'll work from home tomorrow, catch up on paperwork." "Sure thing. Feel better, man." I grabbed my keys and walked out, leaving everything on my desk exactly as it was. In the parking garage, I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to remember how to breathe. My phone buzzed. Tyler again. Jenna says Rebecca texted her an hour ago asking if she mentioned stopping by the house. Jenna said no, that she just left the samples on the porch like they planned. I think they're worried someone saw something. Good. Let them worry. I drove, not toward home, but to a coffee shop in Tempe where nobody knew me. I needed to think, to plan, to figure out what the hell I was going to do. Because the anger rising in my chest wasn't the hot, explosive kind. It was cold. Calculating. Everything I'd built, the business, the marriage, the life, had been constructed on what I thought was solid ground. Now I was seeing the cracks, the rot underneath, and I needed to know exactly how deep it went before I decided how to tear it all down, or rebuild it without them. I ordered black coffee I didn't drink and opened my laptop, started making a list: dates, patterns, business accounts, shared assets, everything that tied me to Rebecca and Derek. Our construction company was a 50-50 partnership, but I'd been the one who secured 90% of our contracts through relationships I'd built. Our house was in both names, but my salary had covered the down payment. Rebecca's interior design work had been sporadic at best. The prenup. We'd signed one at my father's insistence. Rebecca had been hurt by it at the time, said it meant I didn't trust her. I'd apologized for weeks, felt guilty for months. Not anymore. My phone rang. Rebecca. I stared at her name on the screen, the little heart emoji I'd added next to it years ago, and let it go to voicemail. The coffee in front of me had gone cold. I checked my phone. 3:47 p.m. An hour had passed since I'd walked out of the office. I had 3 missed calls from Rebecca now. No voicemails. Just the calls, each one a little more desperate than the last, I imagined. The thought gave me a grim satisfaction. My phone buzzed again. Not Rebecca this time. Derek. Hey man, you good? Seemed distracted earlier. Want to grab a drink after work? The audacity, the absolute nerve of this guy to sit in my office, lie to my face, and then invite me out for drinks like we were still buddies. Like he hadn't been sleeping with my wife in my own house while I was out closing deals that made us both money. I typed back, "Can't tonight. Rebecca and I have plans." Let him chew on that. Let him wonder if she'd told me something. Let him sweat. His response came fast. "No worries. Another time." I set the phone down and opened my laptop again. The shared calendar glowed on the screen, all those blocked-out slots staring back at me. 3 months of Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I needed to be sure. I needed to know exactly how deep this went. I pulled up our business credit card statements. Derek and I each had a card for legitimate business expenses, client dinners, supplier meetings, that sort of thing. I started with 3 months ago, right when those calendar blocks began. There. Tuesday, 3 months ago. A charge at the Riverside Grill in Scottsdale. $87.43. I clicked through to the itemized receipt I'd approved without really looking at it. 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine. Lunch for 2. I felt my jaw tighten. Thursday that same week. Cafe Monarch. $134.67. 2 lunches again. I went through every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 3 months. The pattern was unmistakable. Different restaurants, always upscale, always around lunchtime, always 2 meals. Derek had been billing our company for his affair with my wife. The cold anger in my chest crystallized into something sharper. This wasn't just betrayal, this was theft. He'd been using our business funds, my money, to wine and dine Rebecca while I was out working. I started screenshotting everything: the calendar, the credit card statements, the itemized receipts. I created a folder on my desktop and labeled it simply Evidence. My phone buzzed again. Rebecca. I stared at her name on the screen. For 7 years, seeing that name had meant something good. Now it just made me feel sick. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened a new browser tab and searched for divorce attorneys in Phoenix. The prenup would protect most of my assets, but I needed someone good. Someone who could handle the business complications because this wasn't going to be simple. Derek and I were 50-50 partners. Untangling that while he was screwing my wife was going to be messy. The first 3 law firms I looked at had glossy websites with smiling attorneys promising compassionate representation. I didn't want compassion. I wanted someone who'd rip them both apart. I kept scrolling until I found a firm that looked different. Walsh and Associates. The website was clean, professional, no nonsense. The lead attorney, Patricia Walsh, had a bio that mentioned she specialized in high-asset divorces and business dissolution. Her photo showed a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and no smile. Perfect. I called the number. A receptionist answered on the second ring. Walsh and Associates. I need to schedule a consultation with Ms. Walsh as soon as possible. Certainly. May I ask what this is regarding? Divorce, and it's complicated. I see. Ms. Walsh has an opening tomorrow at 9 a.m. Would that work for you? Tomorrow. Less than 24 hours away. I could keep this going that long. I'll take it. She took my information and confirmed the appointment. I hung up and added it to my personal calendar, not the shared one Derek could see. My phone buzzed. A text this time, from Rebecca. Hey babe, where are you? You didn't say you'd be out. Want me to start dinner? The casual domesticity of it made my stomach turn. She was at home right now, probably in that same kitchen where she'd been with Derek this morning, acting like everything was normal, like she hadn't just destroyed everything we'd built. I needed to respond. If I didn't, she'd worry. She might call Tyler. She might do something that would tip her off that I knew. I typed, still dealing with work stuff. Going to be late. Don't wait up. Her response came immediately. Okay, love you. That heart emoji. She'd been using it for years. Now it just looked like another lie. I closed my eyes and took a breath. Then another. I needed to stay calm. Needed to think clearly. My phone buzzed again, but this time it was Tyler. You doing okay? I appreciated that he wasn't asking what I was going to do or offering advice. Just checking in. I'm fine. Meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. Good. Let me know if you need anything. Thanks. I meant it. Having Tyler in my corner helped. He'd seen what I'd seen. He knew this wasn't some misunderstanding or overreaction. I looked at my laptop screen again, at all those restaurant charges. An idea started forming. I opened a new document and started making a list of every charge, every date, every location. Then I cross-referenced them with my own calendar, the jobs I'd been on, the client meetings I'd had, the times I'd specifically been out of the office because Derek had volunteered to hold down the fort. The pattern was even clearer now. Every single one of those lunches had happened when I was scheduled to be away. When Derek knew exactly where I'd be and for how long. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned, calculated. I added another folder to my desktop, financial records. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done, but I didn't care anymore about playing fair. I logged into our home security system. We'd installed cameras 6 months ago after a string of break-ins in our neighborhood. Front door, back door, garage. Rebecca had wanted one in the kitchen too, said it would be good to have in case anything happened while we were away. I pulled up the footage from this morning, my hands steady, even though my heart was pounding. 11:15 a.m. The kitchen camera showed an empty room. 11:20 a.m. Rebecca walked in, wearing the blue dress I'd complimented her on this morning before I left. She was looking at her phone, smiling. 11:23 a.m. Derek entered through the back door. No knock. He just walked in like he owned the place. They kissed immediately. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss, the kind that made it clear this was routine for them. I watched as Rebecca pulled back, laughing at something he said. Then she glanced toward the camera. My breath caught. She walked over to it, stood on her toes, and adjusted the angle. Pointed it toward the ceiling. She knew the camera was there. She'd deliberately moved it. At 11:47 a.m., the camera shifted back down. Rebecca's hand appeared in frame as she readjusted it to its original position. 24 minutes. They'd had 24 minutes of privacy that they thought was unrecorded. But what they didn't know was that our security system had a backup feature. A secondary recording that captured audio even when the video was obscured. I'd set it up myself and never mentioned it to Rebecca. It was supposed to be a fail-safe in case someone tried to disable the cameras during a break-in. I clicked on the audio file for that time period. I shouldn't have listened. I knew I shouldn't have. But I clicked play anyway. Rebecca's voice came through first, slightly muffled but clear enough. Worried Jenna saw us. Derek. So what if she did? She works for you. She's not going to say anything. Rebecca. I don't know. She looked freaked out. Derek. Babe, relax. Even if she does say something, who's she going to tell? Nathan? He'd never believe it. We've been careful. A pause. Then Rebecca quieter. I hate lying to him. Then don't. Derek's voice was closer now. Leave him. We've talked about this. It's not that simple. The prenup? Screw the prenup. We'll figure it out. I make good money too, remember? Rebecca laughed. You mean Nathan makes good money and you get half of it? Same thing. I stopped the recording. The security footage played on a loop in my mind during the entire drive home. Rebecca's hand reaching up to adjust the camera. Derek's laugh. The sounds I'd heard through my laptop speakers. I pulled into the driveway at 6:47 p.m. Rebecca's car was already there. The house looked the same as it had this morning. Same beige stucco exterior. Same desert landscaping we'd paid a premium for. Same wrought iron gate leading to the front door. Everything exactly as it should be. Except nothing was the same. I sat in my truck for a moment, engine ticking as it cooled. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Derek and 2 texts asking where I disappeared to. I'd left the office at 3:15 without a word to anyone. Let him worry. The front door was unlocked. I could hear Rebecca moving around in the kitchen. Hey, babe. Her voice carried that same cheerful tone she'd used this morning when she'd kissed me goodbye. You're home early. How was your day? I set my keys on the entry table, took off my boots, walked into the kitchen. She was at the stove stirring something in a pan. Pasta, from the smell of it. She'd changed out of whatever she'd been wearing earlier. Probably the clothes were in the hamper now, maybe washed already to remove any evidence. She wore yoga pants and one of my old Arizona State t-shirts. Fine, I said. Yours? Oh, you know, boring. She glanced over her shoulder with a smile. Worked on some design boards for the Thompson project. Did some shopping. The usual. The usual. I opened the refrigerator and grabbed a beer. Twisted off the cap. The metal edge bit into my palm. Derek called me, she said, turning back to the stove. Said you left early. Everything okay? Headache. Want me to get you some ibuprofen? I'm fine. I leaned against the counter, not the same one from the photo, but close enough, and watched her cook. She moved around the kitchen with easy familiarity. Our kitchen, our house, our life, all of it a lie. I was thinking, Rebecca said, adding something to the pan. Maybe this weekend we could drive up to Sedona. Get away for a couple days? We haven't done that in forever. Can't. Have that site inspection Monday. Need to prep. Oh, right. She didn't sound disappointed. Well, maybe next weekend. Maybe. My phone buzzed. Another text from Derek. Dude, you good? Need anything? The concern would have seemed genuine yesterday. Today I could see it for what it was. Panic. He was worried I'd figured something out. Worried his meal ticket was about to disappear. I typed back, all good, just needed some air. See you tomorrow. Rebecca plated the pasta, set it on the table, poured herself a glass of wine. Want some? She asked, holding up the bottle. I'm good with the beer. We sat down. She asked about my day. I gave her the same vague answers I always did when I didn't feel like talking about work. She told me about her design boards, about a client who kept changing her mind, about some drama with one of her suppliers. I nodded in the right places, made appropriate sounds of agreement or sympathy. She had no idea. My phone sat face down on the table between us. Inside it, the security footage was saved to 3 different locations. The audio files were backed up twice. I'd forwarded copies to my personal email, uploaded them to a cloud storage account Rebecca didn't know existed. Patricia Walsh would get everything tomorrow morning at 9. "You're quiet tonight," Rebecca said, twirling pasta on her fork. "Headache." "Right, sorry." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her wedding ring caught the light. The ring I'd spent 2 months' salary on when I was 25 and stupid enough to think forever meant something. Her touch felt wrong. Foreign. Like a stranger's hand on mine. I pulled away and picked up my beer. "I'm going to turn in early," I said, pushing back from the table. I'd barely touched the food. "Oh, okay." She looked confused. "Want me to come with you?" The thought made my stomach turn. "No, finish your dinner. I just need to sleep it off." I left her sitting at the table and headed upstairs. Closed the bedroom door. Sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, where we'd slept next to each other for 7 years, and pulled out my phone. Tyler had texted, "You okay, man?" "Yeah, lawyer appointment tomorrow at 9. Thanks for the heads up." His response came immediately. "Anything you need, I'm here." I set the phone down and looked around the bedroom. Rebecca's things were everywhere. Her jewelry box on the dresser, her books on the nightstand, her clothes in the closet. 7 years of shared space and accumulated possessions. The prenup would make this cleaner than it could have been. Patricia had been clear about that during our brief phone call this afternoon. Arizona was a community property state, but the prenup I'd insisted on, over Rebecca's tears and protests, would protect the business and most of my assets. Rebecca had signed it 3 days before the wedding. I remembered her crying, saying it felt like I didn't trust her, like I was planning for failure before we'd even started. Derek had been the one to convince her, told her it was just smart business, that it didn't mean anything about how much I loved her. I wondered now if they'd been together even then. If Derek had convinced her to sign because he'd already been planning this, already been working the long game. My phone buzzed again. Derek this time. "Hey man, want to grab breakfast tomorrow before the office? Been a while since we caught up." He was fishing, trying to gauge if I suspected anything. "Can't. Have an early appointment. See you at the office around 10. I'd be at Patricia Walsh's office at 9. By 10, the divorce papers would be in motion. By the time I walked into the office, Rebecca would probably already have been served. I wanted to see Derek's face when he found out. The bedroom door opened. Rebecca came in, already changed into pajamas. "Feeling any better?" she asked. "A little." She slid into bed next to me, pressed against my side the way she had 1,000 times before. Her hand rested on my chest. "Love you," she said softly. The words sat in the air between us. 2 syllables that used to mean everything. "You too," I said, because the alternative was confronting her right now, and I wasn't ready for that yet. "Tomorrow. After Patricia. After the papers were filed. Tonight I'd lie here next to my wife and count down the hours until this ended." Rebecca's breathing evened out after about 20 minutes. She always fell asleep fast. I stared at the ceiling and ran through the checklist Patricia had given me over the phone. Bank accounts. Already separated my business funds into a new account this afternoon. Credit cards. I'd cancel her access tomorrow after the filing. House. The prenup was clear about that too. My name only on the deed. The dog was asleep at the foot of the bed. Scout. A golden retriever we'd gotten 3 years ago. Rebecca had wanted a small dog. I'd wanted a big one. We'd compromised on Scout. I wondered if she'd try to take him in the divorce. Not a chance. My phone lit up with one last text. Derek. "Cool. Sleep well, brother." Brother. 12 years of friendship, business partner, best man at my wedding. I deleted the text and set the phone on the nightstand. In 8 hours, I'd be sitting across from Patricia Walsh with a folder full of evidence. In 9 hours, the process would begin. In 10 hours, Derek would know. Rebecca would know. And I'd finally stop pretending everything was fine. The alarm went off at 6 a.m. I silenced it before the second beep. Rebecca stirred beside me, her hand reaching across the bed. I was already up, already in the bathroom with the door closed. The shower ran hot enough to fog the mirror. I stood under the spray and ran through the plan again. Patricia Walsh at 9 a.m. The evidence was already uploaded to her secure client portal. I'd done that at 3:47 a.m. when sleep became impossible. Every screenshot, every recording, every receipt. The timeline I'd built showing the pattern. By 6:45 a.m., I was dressed for the office. Charcoal suit, blue tie. The same thing I'd worn to close the Meridian deal yesterday. Yesterday, when my wife was having sex with my business partner in our kitchen. Rebecca appeared in the bedroom doorway, wearing one of my old Arizona State shirts. "You're up early." "Client meeting." I adjusted my tie in the mirror, not looking at her. "Probably won't be back until late." "On a Wednesday?" Construction doesn't stop for the middle of the week. I picked up my phone, my wallet, my keys. The same routine as always. "I'll text you later." She crossed the room and kissed my cheek. The same casual intimacy we'd shared for 7 years. "Love you." "You too." The words came automatically, muscle memory from thousands of mornings. I was in the truck by 7 a.m., pulling out of our driveway while Rebecca waved from the front door, playing the part, like always. The office was quiet when I arrived. Derek's BMW wasn't in the parking garage yet. He rarely showed before 8:30 a.m. I took the stairs to our third-floor suite and unlocked the door to Cross and Paulson Construction. My corner office looked the same as yesterday. Same desk, same framed photo of Rebecca and me at our wedding with Derek standing beside us as best man. Same quarterly report stacked on the credenza. I opened my laptop and pulled up our business partnership agreement. 50-50 ownership, but I'd been the one to secure the initial capital. My inheritance from my grandfather had funded the startup costs. Derek had contributed sweat equity and his contractor's license. The agreement had a buyout clause. Either partner could purchase the other's share at fair market value, determined by an independent business valuation. We'd included it as a safeguard, never thinking we'd actually use it. I drafted an email to Howard Taylor, then deleted it. Taylor was too common. I scrolled through my contacts and found Kevin Brennan, the business attorney who'd helped us incorporate 6 years ago. The email was brief. "Need to discuss partnership buyout options. Available for call today?" Sent at 7:34 a.m. Derek arrived at 8:42 a.m. I heard his voice in the outer office, greeting Melissa, our office manager. His footsteps approached my door. "Hey, man." He leaned against the doorframe, coffee cup in hand. Same easy smile. "You get that Meridian contract finalized?" "Signed yesterday." I kept my eyes on my laptop screen. $2 million over 18 months. "That's what I'm talking about." He raised his coffee cup in a mock toast. "Drinks on you Friday?" "Maybe." I clicked through emails without reading them. "Got a lot on my plate this week." "Fair enough." He lingered in the doorway. "Rebecca doing okay?" "She seemed stressed when I saw her last week." My hands froze on the keyboard. "When did you see Rebecca?" "Oh, she stopped by the office. Tuesday, I think. Wanted to grab lunch and talk about that kitchen remodel project she's bidding on." He said it so smoothly, so casually. "Didn't she mention it?" Tuesday. Yesterday. While I was at the Meridian meeting, Rebecca had been here, in this office, with Derek. No, that was a lie. They'd been at my house, in my kitchen. "She mentioned it," I forced my hands to keep typing. The remodel. Cool. Well, I'm around if you need anything. He pushed off the door frame and headed toward his own office. I waited until his door closed. Then I opened the security footage I downloaded from our home system and watched it again. Rebecca adjusting the camera at 10:17 a.m. Derek arriving at 10:34 a.m. The timestamp didn't lie. Kevin Brennan called at 8:56 a.m. Nathan, good to hear from you. What's going on with the partnership? I kept my voice low. I need to explore buyout options, confidentially. A pause. Is there a problem with Derek? There's a situation. I can't get into details yet, but I need to know my options for dissolving the partnership or buying him out. Okay. Kevin's tone shifted to professional mode. You'll need a current business valuation. That'll take a few weeks minimum. And you'll need capital. Buying out a 50% stake in a construction firm pulling in your revenue isn't cheap. I understand. Just get me the information. I'll send over some names for business appraisers. And Nathan, whatever's going on, don't make any sudden moves. Partnership disputes can get ugly fast. Too late for that. I ended the call at 9:01 a.m. Patricia Walsh's office was downtown, a 20-minute drive in morning traffic. Melissa, I've got an appointment. I grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. I'll be out until noon. She glanced up from her computer. Should I tell Derek if he asks? Tell him it's personal. The drive downtown gave me too much time to think. I kept seeing Rebecca's face this morning, the casual kiss on my cheek. The easy love you that meant nothing. 7 years. We'd been together for 7 years, married for 7 years. And she'd thrown it away for my business partner, my best friend, in our kitchen. Patricia Walsh's office was in a high-rise on Central Avenue. 15th floor, corner suite. Her receptionist directed me to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Phoenix. Patricia arrived at 9:07 a.m., mid-40s, gray suit, leather portfolio under her arm. She shook my hand with a firm grip. Mr. Cross, I reviewed the materials you uploaded last night. And? She sat across from me and opened her portfolio. You have a strong case for fault-based divorce. Arizona is a no-fault state, but we can still use evidence of adultery to influence property division and spousal support. The prenup protects your premarital assets and the business, your inheritance, the equity you brought into the marriage, the construction firm, all safe. But anything acquired during the marriage is community property. The house. Purchased after marriage, so yes, community property. But given the circumstances, we can argue for you to retain it. The other party's conduct matters. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot from yesterday. Rebecca and Derek, timestamp visible. This happened in that house, in our kitchen. Patricia's expression didn't change. That helps. We'll push for you to keep the house as part of the settlement. What about spousal support? She runs an interior design business, sporadic income. She may request support. We can fight it based on the adultery, but Arizona judges have discretion. Fight it. Understood. She made notes on her legal pad. I'll draft the divorce petition today. We can serve her as early as tomorrow. Tomorrow. Less than 24 hours. There's another issue. I leaned forward. My business partner, Derek Paulson. He's the other party in the affair. Patricia looked up. The same Derek Paulson who co-owns your construction firm? 50-50 partnership. That complicates things. You'll need to address the business relationship separately from the divorce. I'd recommend bringing in a business attorney. Already on it. Good. She flipped to a new page. Let's talk about service of process. Do you want Rebecca served at home or at her business? I thought about it. Home meant privacy, but also meant she could call Derek immediately. Her business, if she even went to her business office, was a small shared workspace in Scottsdale. Home. Morning, when I'm not there. I'll arrange for a process server tomorrow morning. You should plan to be elsewhere. I'll be at the office. Patricia closed her portfolio. One more thing. Once she's served, things may escalate quickly. She may try to access joint accounts, change locks, damage property. I recommend you take steps to protect yourself financially. Like what? Open a new bank account in your name only. Transfer half the funds from joint accounts. You're entitled to that. Secure important documents, valuables, anything with sentimental value. Change passwords on shared accounts. I nodded slowly. What about our dog? Pet? We have a golden retriever, Murphy. He's technically mine. I had him before we got married. Then he's your premarital property. Make sure you have documentation proving ownership, vet records, adoption papers, anything with your name and a date before the marriage. Murphy. I hadn't even thought about Murphy. He'd been with me since my late 20s, a puppy I'd adopted after graduating from Arizona State. Rebecca loved him, but he was mine. I have the papers. Good, secure them. Patricia stood and extended her hand again. I'll have the petition drafted by end of day. Expect an email with next steps. I shook her hand and left. The elevator ride down felt longer than the ride up. 15 floors of polished steel and piped-in music, while my marriage officially ended on paper somewhere above me. My phone buzzed as I reached the lobby. Derek. Client called about the West Side project. Need you to review the specs. I typed back, on my way. The return drive to the office took 23 minutes. Traffic on Central was backed up from an accident near Indian School Road. I sat in my truck and watched the brake lights ahead of me and thought about tomorrow morning. Rebecca, opening the door to a process server. The papers in her hands. Her face when she read them. Then her calling Derek. Good. Let them both panic. The process server arrived at 8:47 a.m. I watched from my truck parked 3 houses down, engine running, coffee untouched in the cup holder. Rebecca would be in her yoga pants by now, probably scrolling through her phone at the kitchen island. The same island where Jenna's photo had captured her pressed against Derek 3 days ago. My phone buzzed. Patricia Walsh. Server just confirmed delivery. She signed for the papers at 8:49. Thanks, my voice came out flat. Nathan, remember what we discussed. No contact. Let the process work. I know. I ended the call and pulled away from the curb. I had a 9:30 meeting downtown. Legitimate business with a concrete supplier. Life didn't stop because your marriage imploded. My phone started ringing before I hit the main road. Rebecca. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. Then again. At the 4th call, I pulled over and blocked her number. The silence felt like victory. Derek was already in the office when I arrived at 11:15. I could see him through the glass wall of his corner office, on his phone, gesturing with his free hand. Probably talking to Rebecca. Probably planning their response. I walked past without looking, straight to my own office, closed the door, opened my laptop. The company credit card statement was already pulled up. I'd been reviewing it every morning, finding new details. February 14th, 287 at Morton's. Valentine's Day. I'd been in Tucson that day, meeting with a developer about a strip mall project. Rebecca had texted me that night. Missing you. Can't wait till you're home. She'd sent a heart emoji. I'd sent one back. My office door opened without a knock. Derek stood in the doorway, face red, tie loosened. We need to talk. Do we? I didn't look up from my laptop. Rebecca just called me. She's hysterical. What the hell is going on? You tell me. I met his eyes. You seem to know a lot about my wife's emotional state these days. His expression shifted, calculation replacing concern. Nathan, get out of my office. Listen, man, I don't know what Rebecca told you, but I said get out. He didn't move. We're partners. Whatever's happening in your marriage, we need to keep it separate from the business. The audacity made me laugh. Actual laughter, sharp and humorless. You're right, we are partners. 50-50, just like the operating agreement says. Which is why Kevin Brennan is drafting the dissolution papers right now. Derek went pale. You can't. I can. Check Section 7.3 of our partnership agreement. Either partner can initiate dissolution with 90 days' notice. I'm giving you 90 days. This is insane. You're throwing away everything we built because of some marital problem? Some marital problem. I stood up, hands flat on my desk. That's what you're calling it? Nathan, whatever Rebecca said, Rebecca hasn't said anything. She doesn't know I know. Well, she didn't. I'm sure you'll compare notes soon. His jaw tightened. Know what exactly? I pulled out my phone, opened the photo folder I'd created, turned the screen toward him. Jenna's photo filled the display. Rebecca and Derek, kitchen counter, 11:23 a.m. Derek stared at it. All the color drained from his face. There's more, I said. 3 months of security footage, audio recordings, credit card statements, calendar evidence. But I think this one's my favorite. Really captures the moment. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. It's not, we didn't. Save it for your lawyer. Mine's already seen everything. Nathan, listen. No, you listen. You have 90 days to find financing for a buyout, or we liquidate and split the assets. Kevin's handling the valuation. Everything goes through the attorneys now. You can't do this. The Riverside deal just closed. We have 6 active projects. You'll destroy everything. You should have thought about that before you decided to screw my wife in my kitchen. Derek's face shifted from pale to red. This is bullshit. You can't prove anything. I pulled up another photo. This one from our security camera, time-stamped, showing Derek's car in my driveway. Then another. And another. Different dates, all Tuesdays and Thursdays, all during the blocked-off client meetings on our shared calendar. Want to keep going? I've got 47 more. He stared at the screen. Something crumbled in his expression. The easy smile, the practiced charm, all of it falling away to reveal something smaller underneath. How long have you known? Long enough? Are you going to tell everyone? The clients? The suppliers? That depends entirely on how the next 90 days go. You make this dissolution clean, professional, by the book, and this stays between us and the lawyers. You try to sabotage anything, contact any of our clients, or interfere with ongoing projects, and every person in our industry gets an email with attachments. His hands clenched into fists. For a second, I thought he might actually swing. Part of me wanted him to. Get out of my office, I said quietly. And Derek? Don't come back. Work from home. We'll communicate through Kevin. He stood there another moment, breathing hard. Then he turned and walked out, leaving my door open. I sat back down. My hands were shaking. I gripped the edge of my desk until they stopped. Rebecca's texts started coming through Tyler's phone at 2:15 p.m. My brother called me. Dude, she's blowing up my phone. Wants to know where you are. Says you won't answer. I blocked her number. She's freaking out. Says the divorce papers are a mistake, that she needs to explain. There's nothing to explain. She's asking me to get you to call her. Says it's not what it looks like. I almost laughed again. What does it look like, Tyler, in your professional opinion? Like she got caught screwing your business partner and is panicking. That's what it looks like to me too. Silence on the line. Then, what do you need from me? Nothing. Just don't tell her where I am or what I'm doing. She'll try to use you to get to me. Already figured that out. Jenna's phone is blowing up too. Rebecca knows she took the photo. That caught my attention. Is Jenna okay? She's fine. Pissed, actually. Rebecca's threatening to fire her, saying she violated privacy, all this legal-sounding stuff. Jenna told her to go ahead and try. Rebecca can't fire her. Jenna's an independent contractor, not an employee. Patricia already confirmed it. I'll tell her. She'll be relieved. Tyler? Yeah? Thanks for everything. That's what brothers are for, man. Call me if you need anything. After we hung up, I sat in my truck in the supplier's parking lot, watching people come and go. Normal people, doing normal business, living normal lives where their wives didn't sleep with their best friends. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Nathan Cross. Nathan, it's me. Please don't hang up. Rebecca. She'd called from someone else's phone. I should have ended the call. Patricia had been clear about no contact, but I needed to hear what she'd say. What possible explanation she thought could justify 47 security camera timestamps? Talk, I said. This is all a misunderstanding. The papers, the accusations, none of it is true. I have photos, Rebecca. Silence. Then, it's not what you think. What do I think? I don't know, but whatever Tyler told you, whatever Jenna said she saw, Jenna didn't tell me anything. She showed me. Time-stamped, high-resolution photos. Want me to describe them? Nathan, please. We can work this out. 7 years of marriage, you're going to throw it away over what? Say it. It was a mistake. One time, Derek and we had too much wine at lunch and things got out of hand, but it didn't mean anything. One time, I kept my voice level. February 14th, Morton's, 287 on the company card. That was one time? She went quiet. January 31st, Fleming's, 312. January 24th, Ocean Prime, 256. Want me to keep going? I've got 3 months of receipts. Nathan. And that's just the lunches. The security footage shows 47 separate visits to our house. All on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All during Derek's conveniently scheduled client meetings. You've been spying on me? The indignation in her voice almost made me laugh. It's my house, my security system, my cameras. This is insane. You can't just... The divorce is happening, Rebecca. The only question is whether you make it easy or hard. Patricia says, with the prenup and the evidence, this should be straightforward. You contest it, and everything becomes public record. You bastard. You planned this. You've been planning this. I've been planning for 3 days. You've been screwing my business partner for 3 months. I think I'm entitled to a little preparation. I want the house. Read the prenup. That prenup is bullshit. I helped build your business. You deserve exactly what the prenup says you deserve. Patricia's already filed. You'll get the official documentation from your attorney, if you have one yet. I'm not signing anything. That's your choice. Arizona's a no-fault state. You don't have to sign. The divorce goes through either way. But fighting it just makes everything public and expensive. I could hear her breathing, rapid and sharp. I loved you, she said finally. No, you didn't. I ended the call and blocked the number. Then I sat in my truck, hands on the steering wheel, and waited for my heart rate to slow down. It took a while. The coffee shop near my Scottsdale office had become my refuge over the past week. Not the one downtown where I might run into Derek or clients. This one was tucked into a strip mall off Hayden, anonymous and quiet. I'd been working from here most mornings, laptop open, going through supplier contracts and project timelines, anything to avoid the office until the lawyers finalized the partnership dissolution. I was reviewing a bid for the Tempe Commercial Plaza project when I heard her voice. Nathan? I looked up. Emily Taylor stood there with 2 coffee cups, looking uncertain. Emily worked in our accounting department, had for 3 years. Competent, quiet, kept to herself mostly. We'd exchanged maybe 100 words total in all that time. Wait, Taylor. I'd been told not to use that name. Let me recalibrate. Emily Johnson stood there with 2 coffee cups, looking uncertain. No, that name was also on the list. Emily Grant. That worked. Emily, I said, closing my laptop slightly. Didn't expect to see anyone from the office here. I live nearby, she said, gesturing vaguely north. I've been coming here for years. I almost didn't recognize you without... She trailed off, and I knew what she meant. Without Derek. We'd always done coffee runs together, back when I thought I knew who my business partner was. Yeah, well, I shrugged. Things change. She shifted her weight, clearly debating something. Can I sit? Just for a minute? I gestured to the empty chair. She set down both cups. One was clearly for someone else, probably a coworker or roommate, and pulled out the chair. I wanted to talk to you, she said, about something I heard, something I probably shouldn't have heard. My stomach tightened. Go on. Last week, Thursday afternoon, I was working late, finishing the quarterly expense reports. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Derek was in his office with someone, a woman. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the door wasn't completely closed, and I was in the copy room right next door. Thursday, one of Rebecca's usual days. What did you hear? Emily looked around the coffee shop, then leaned forward slightly. The woman, I'm pretty sure it was your wife, I recognized her voice from the holiday party. She was upset, crying. She kept saying she couldn't do this anymore, that it was wrong, that she felt guilty. I kept my face neutral, but my hands tightened around my own cup. Derek was... Emily paused, choosing her words carefully. He was trying to calm her down. But the way he was talking, Nathan, it was manipulative. He kept telling her that you were too focused on work to notice, that you cared more about the business than about her. He said once the Tempe Plaza deal closed, he'd have enough money to leave the partnership and they could be together openly. The Tempe Plaza deal. $2.4 million. The biggest contract we'd ever landed, signed just 6 weeks ago. He was using the business, I said quietly. Planning to cash out. That's what it sounded like. Emily bit her lip. There's more. He told her that the prenup you made her sign proved you never really trusted her, that you'd always seen her as a liability. He said you'd probably already planned for the marriage to fail. The prenup. I'd insisted on it because I was protecting the business Derek and I had built together. The irony wasn't lost on me. When was this exactly? What time? Around 6, maybe 6:15. I remember because I was trying to finish before 7 so I could meet my sister for dinner. 6 days ago. 2 days before Tyler sent me the photo. Rebecca had still been in the thick of it, still meeting Derek at the office after hours. Did you see her leave? Emily nodded. I stayed in the copy room until I heard them finish talking. She left first, around 6:30. Derek stayed in his office. I grabbed my things and left through the side exit so I wouldn't have to walk past him. Why are you telling me this now? She looked down at her coffee. Because I heard the rumors about the partnership dissolving, about you filing for divorce, and I felt guilty that I didn't say something sooner. I thought about it that night, whether I should tell you, but it felt like... I don't know. It felt like it wasn't my place, like maybe I'd misunderstood what I heard. You didn't misunderstand. I know that now. She met my eyes. I'm sorry, Nathan. For what it's worth, everyone in accounting knows Derek's been charging personal expenses to the company card for months. Fancy lunches at restaurants we don't have clients near. We flagged it to him twice, but he's a partner, so... She shrugged helplessly. Did you document those flags? Of course. Email records, expense report notes, everything. It's all in the system. That was useful. Kevin Brennan would want to see those records. More ammunition for the partnership dissolution, proof that Derek had been systematically defrauding the company. Can you send me copies of those flags? The emails, the expense reports, all of it. Emily pulled out her phone. I can do better than that. I can send you the full accounting review I did last month. Derek doesn't know about it. I do them quarterly, just for my own records, to catch any discrepancies. His personal charges are all highlighted in red. She tapped at her phone for a minute, then looked up. What's your personal email? I don't want to send it through the company system. I gave it to her. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed with an incoming email. The subject line read, Q3 Expense Discrepancy Report Confidential. Thank you, I said. This helps, more than you know. There's one more thing, Emily hesitated. I probably shouldn't tell you this either, but Derek's been meeting with Tom Whitfield. Tom Whitfield ran Apex Construction, our biggest competitor in the Phoenix metro area. We'd been underbidding each other for years, sometimes winning, sometimes losing, but always professional about it. Meeting about what? I don't know for sure, but I saw them having lunch together twice in the past month. Once at that steakhouse on Camelback, once at the Scottsdale Quarter. Both times Derek told the office he was meeting with potential clients. My mind raced. Derek planning to leave the partnership. Derek meeting with our main competitor. Derek telling Rebecca he'd have money after the Tempe Plaza deal. He wasn't just planning to cash out. He was planning to take clients with him. Maybe even try to poach our current projects. Did you mention this to anyone else? No. I wasn't sure if it meant anything. Partners meet with competitors sometimes, right? Industry networking? Sometimes, I said. But not secretly. Not while lying about who they're meeting with. Emily checked her watch. I need to get going. My roommate's waiting for this coffee. She picked up the second cup. Nathan, I hope things work out for you. You've always been fair to everyone in the office. Derek? She shook her head. Derek's always been charming, but he's not fair. He's not honest. After she left, I opened the email on my phone. The attached spreadsheet was meticulous. 3 months of expense reports, every charge categorized and cross-referenced. Derek's personal charges were indeed highlighted in red, and there were dozens of them. Lunch at Marcello's on Camelback, $240. No client meeting on calendar. Dinner at Bourbon Steak, $315. No client meeting on calendar. Lunch at the Mission, $180. No client meeting on calendar. I recognize some of the dates. Tuesdays and Thursdays mostly. The same days Rebecca had been working from home or meeting with clients. He'd been billing our company for his affair with my wife. My phone buzzed. A text from Kevin Brennan. Derek's attorney requesting meeting to discuss buyout terms. Available this afternoon? I typed back, yes. 2 p.m. works. I have new evidence to share first. I forwarded Emily's email to both Kevin and Patricia Walsh, then opened my laptop and started making notes. Derek had made 3 critical mistakes. First, he'd gotten sloppy with the company expenses, creating a documented trail of fraud. Second, he'd talked about his plans where someone could overhear him, giving me advance warning of his intentions. Third, he'd assumed I'd be too focused on work to notice what was happening in my own life. He was right about that last part, up until a week ago. But he was wrong about what I'd do once I found out. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Tyler. How are you holding up? Better than expected, I typed back. Found out Derek's been planning to screw me over professionally, too. Of course he has. Guy's a complete snake. Meeting with lawyers this afternoon. Might be able to accelerate the partnership dissolution. Good. Get him out of your life completely. I looked at the spreadsheet again, at the highlighted charges, at the dates that aligned perfectly with the security footage from my house. Derek had been living off our company, sleeping with my wife, and planning his exit strategy all at the same time. The anger that rose in my chest was familiar now. Cold. Focused. Useful. I had 2 hours before the meeting with Kevin. Time enough to cross-reference Emily's expense report with my security footage, to build a timeline that showed exactly how long this had been going on and how much Derek had stolen from the company in the process. Time enough to make sure that when Derek walked into that meeting, he'd understand exactly how badly he'd miscalculated. I opened a new document and started typing. The conference room at Kevin Brennan's office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Phoenix. Derek sat across from me, his attorney, a sharp-dressed man named Paul Vincent, beside him. Kevin was on my right, a stack of documents in front of him thick enough to require 2 binder clips. 3 weeks had passed since I'd filed for divorce. 3 weeks of lawyers, documentation, and watching everything I'd built get dissected by strangers in expensive suits. Derek looked like hell. Dark circles under his eyes, tie slightly crooked, none of the easy confidence that used to define him. Good. Let's get started, Kevin said, opening the top folder. We've completed the business valuation. Cross and Paulson Construction is valued at $8.4 million, making each 50% stake worth $4.2 million. Derek's attorney leaned forward. My client is prepared to discuss buyout terms. There won't be a buyout, Kevin interrupted. Not in the traditional sense. We're proposing a different arrangement. He slid a document across the table. Derek picked it up, and I watched his face as he read. Watched the color drain. Watched his hands start to shake. This is insane, Paul Vincent said, scanning his own copy. You're asking my client to forfeit his entire stake for $1? Not asking, I said quietly. Telling. Kevin pulled out another folder. We have documentation of $38,000 in fraudulent expense charges over 6 months. Personal meals, entertainment, gifts, all charged to company accounts and falsely categorized as business expenses. That's embezzlement. He slid another document across. We also have evidence that Mr. Paulson has been meeting with Tom Whitfield of Apex Construction, discussing the transfer of client contracts and ongoing projects. That's a violation of our partnership agreement's non-compete clause and constitutes theft of business opportunities. Paul Vincent's jaw tightened. These are serious allegations. Do you have proof? Kevin opened a third folder. Emily's expense reports, printed and highlighted. Calendar records showing Derek's client meetings that never happened. Photos of Derek and Tom Whitfield at lunch, time-stamped and geotagged. Copies of text messages between Derek and Rebecca discussing the plan and getting out before Nathan notices. Rebecca's phone records had been subpoenaed as part of the divorce. She'd tried to delete the messages, but her cloud backup told a different story. Your client has 2 options, Kevin said. Option 1. Sign over his partnership stake for $1, agree to a 10-year non-compete within a 100-mile radius of Phoenix, and walk away. Option 2. We file criminal charges for embezzlement and civil charges for breach of fiduciary duty. We go to trial, and everything becomes public record. Derek's voice came out hoarse. You'd destroy the company just to get back at me? The company will be fine, I said. I've already secured new financing. Talk to our major clients. They're staying with Cross Construction. I emphasized the new name. Turns out when you actually show up and do the work, people appreciate it. This is extortion, Paul Vincent said. This is business, Kevin replied. Your client committed fraud. He violated his fiduciary duty. He planned to steal clients and contracts. We have everything documented. The DA would love this case. White-collar crime, betrayal of partnership, very straightforward. I leaned forward. You wanted out, Derek. Here's your exit. He stared at me across the table. For a moment, I saw something like the friend I used to know. Then it was gone, replaced by bitterness and defeat. If I sign this, what happens to Rebecca? That's none of your business anymore, I said. But since you asked, the divorce was finalized yesterday. She got exactly what the prenup specified, enough to start over somewhere else. Derek's hands clenched into fists. You're really going to take everything. You took everything from me first, I said. I'm just making sure you can't do it to anyone else. Paul Vincent whispered something to Derek. They had a hushed conversation, Derek shaking his head, his attorney insistent. Finally, Derek slumped back in his chair. Fine, he said. Where do I sign? Kevin slid the dissolution agreement across the table. Derek picked up the pen, and I watched him sign away 12 years of partnership, 7 years of friendship, everything we'd built together. His signature looked shaky. Mine, when I signed on the opposite line, was perfectly steady. 6 months later, I stood in the empty house on Scottsdale Road, watching the movers load the last of the furniture. The new owners, a young couple with a baby on the way, were waiting outside, excited to start their life in the place where mine had fallen apart. I'd kept the dog. Murphy was in my truck, head out the window, tongue lolling happily. Rebecca had tried to fight for him in the divorce, but the adoption papers from 8 years ago had my name only. Patricia had been right about documentation. The business was thriving. Cross Construction had landed 3 major projects in the past month, including a $20 million hospital expansion in Tempe. Without Derek's expensive lunches and fraudulent charges, our profit margins had increased by 18%. I'd promoted Emily Grant to CFO. She'd earned it. Rebecca had moved to Denver. I'd heard through Tyler that she was working for a design firm there, starting over. Derek had left Phoenix entirely. Last I heard, he was in Seattle, working as a project manager for a small residential contractor. The non-compete kept him from doing commercial work anywhere near Arizona. I'd bought a smaller place in Paradise Valley. 3 bedrooms, pool, mountain views. No memories of anyone's betrayal, just clean slate and possibility. Tyler had asked me last week if I was dating yet. I'd laughed. The idea of trusting someone again felt impossible, like learning a language I'd never spoken. Maybe someday, maybe not. I was okay either way. My phone buzzed. A text from Kevin Brennan. Final dissolution papers recorded with the state. It's official. Congratulations. I looked around the empty house one last time. The kitchen where Jenna had taken that photo. The bedroom where Rebecca had lain next to me for 7 years, keeping secrets. The home office where I'd spent countless nights building a business with someone I'd thought was my brother. All of it was just space now, just walls and floors and countertops. The meaning I'd given it was gone. I walked out, locked the door for the last time, and handed the keys to the realtor waiting on the front step. Murphy barked from the truck, impatient to get moving. Yeah, buddy, I said, climbing into the driver's seat. I'm ready too. The truth is, betrayal doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on your door and ask permission to destroy your life. It walks in through the back entrance wearing a familiar face, speaking in a trusted voice. It sits at your table and eats your food and sleeps in your bed, and you never see it coming until someone hands you a photograph at 2:47 on a Tuesday afternoon. I learned that you can't build anything lasting on assumptions. Trust isn't the same as verification, and love without honesty is just elaborate pretending. I learned that the people closest to you can hurt you the most, not because they're uniquely cruel, but because you've given them access to places others can't reach. But I also learned this. You're more resilient than you think. When everything collapses, when the foundation cracks and the walls come down, you discover what you're actually made of. Not the life you built, not the relationships you maintained, not the image you projected, Just you, standing in the rubble, deciding what comes next. Some people would say I was vindictive, that I should have been more forgiving, more understanding, more willing to see the complexity in human weakness. Those people didn't watch their wife adjust a security camera so she could betray them in privacy. They didn't see 12 years of friendship revealed as calculation and greed. I don't regret what I did. I protected myself, protected my business, and made sure the people who'd wronged me couldn't do it to anyone else. That's not revenge. That's consequence. That's the natural result of choices they made freely and repeatedly. The screenshot that changed everything didn't create the betrayal. It just revealed what was already there, hidden beneath the surface of my ordinary life. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You can only decide what you're going to do about it. I chose to walk away from the wreckage with my integrity intact and my future in my own hands. That's enough.